Just got back from the butcher and look at these fabulous pork chops. Aren't they gorgeous? But first, I want to show you how to make the apple and whiskey sauce. It's a very simple sauce. It's very elegant, and you can use it not only just for the pork. You can do this with veal. You could do this with chicken. You're going to love this. In the pan, we already added some extra virgin olive oil. I'm going to crank up the heat here a little bit, and we're going to add the ingredients in the sequence in which they're supposed to go. A little bit of chopped carrots in there. Together with the carrots, we put a little bit of onions. And together with the onions, we put a little bit of celery. I'm going to let this go for a short while longer. This in Italian is called il triumvirato. When you add it, you do not want to have the oil so hot that it's going to make the water that's still contained by these ingredients explode outward. It's one of the things where you want to walk. And watch what I'm saying, because as the oil gets nice and hot, you see already the sizzling that takes place. What I'm using in this case is a spatula that can actually take the seat. It's a fabulous tool, one of the things that you should have in your kitchen. As this is taking place, then we start building on the sauce. Imagine that the sauce is like making a little model, and you add a piece at a time, and each piece has a reason for being there. So as these are starting to saute, the next thing that we're going to do is to add some rosemary. And the rosemary, I have a lot in my garden, and that's where I got my idea at home. Why don't I do that? And I said, well, it will look good and taste good with rosemary. So I put the basil. People say, why putting the basil so early? What we want to do at this point, the reason why we're using the fresh herbs earlier on in the process, is we want to make sure that the oil contained into the fresh herbs starts to lose itself into the base, which is all these aromatics, and it's going to open up. It's like a flower that blossoms out. Now you can hear the sizzling taking place, all the ingredients. I'm so sorry that you cannot smell the aroma, because this is spectacular. Another bit of very important information that I want to give you is here now when we start to build the character of what we want. If you do this with chicken, use chicken meat. If you do this with veal, use veal meat. So these are the trimmings for the pork chop that we cut earlier that we're going to add to give it some flavor. Together with this, the next thing that we want to do is to add the apple pieces. Now the apple pieces, we have peeled the apple, we have cored the apple, and then we cut it in pieces. If you do this ahead of time to make sure that the pieces do not become too dark, make sure that you store the pieces of apple into a combination of water and lemon juice. All that will do is not so much change the flavor, rather what it will do for you is give a nice color to the apples. They do not oxidize and become dark. Once we get to this point, the next thing that we're going to do is add the liquids that ultimately are going to give us the true character of the sauce. These liquids are very important. First and foremost, Worcestershire sauce. Trust me. How many times I've rehearsed this? I do not always get it right, but this time I did. This in itself, it's a good thing. So here we go with that. What this does, it opens up the character of the sauce even further. We're building it up a little bit at a time. I like to have it a little spicy, so I add a little bit of red pepper flakes. This will give it a nice kick, but it will not be too overwhelming. The next thing that we're going to do, you want to deglaze everything with a little bit of whiskey. And careful when you add this, because we're dealing with very hot temperature. It could flame up on you. So stir it about gently to make sure that it mixes up with all the ingredients and the aroma of the whiskey itself, which is truly the building block in the sauce, continues. And as it opens up, it gives us a wonderful impression of where we want to go. You say, Nick, Stellino, what does it mean, a wonderful impression? Look, two-handed. I have in here apple juice and chicken stock. We're going to add them at the same time. The combination of these two, as the sauce will reach a boil and then reduces down over a long period of time, will create for us the true bones, which is the sauce is all about. And then we finish it up with a little bit of tomato sauce. People say, Nick, why the tomato sauce? I know that my wife, the first time I put this tomato sauce with apple juice, why? Well, we're going to bring this to a boil. Once the sauce reaches a boil, we're going to reduce this to a simmer. Once it reduces a simmer, we want to let it cook for about 45 to 55 minutes. And the simmer brings down the sauce gently, softly, and it's like a flower that opens up slowly. And finally, when it gets to its finished look, its finished taste, its finished combination of flavor is splendid. But still here with the pork chop, there is something very important that I want you to do with the pork chop. The first thing I want you to notice is that the pork chop here is the way the butcher usually cut, unless you ask him anything else. The one next to it has been French, and you know that a pork chop has been French by looking at the bone and noticing how the bone has been rendered, exactly like this. The next thing that we're going to do, we're going to tie the pork chop, and let me show you exactly how to do that. So here we put the pork chop. I have some string that I've measured ahead of time. So first I do is I put the string right underneath the bone. Then I lift it up exactly like this, Now bring it around, and then all that you want to do really is to run the string all the way here. Watch what happens to the meat itself once I tie it up. It's going to plump up. Sometimes people don't pay attention and they let it slip underneath, and that's where the mistake is. But as it goes, you see, it already plumps up wonderfully well. Just make a straight knot here. That's all that you need to do, and you are ready to go. I'm going to take this, put it inside this bag, and then we are going to add the marinade. Well, the marinade is very important because pork has an issue. If you overcook pork, it becomes dry very, very quickly. So to this 2 cups of water, we add a little bit of salt and quite a little bit of sugar. Now you want to stir this really well. And to the pork chop waiting below, we're going to add this marinade. You want to let this sit for at least 45 minutes inside the refrigerator. If you can, it tastes better if you do this overnight. What it will do for you is extremely important. It will bring in onto the pork a great deal of flavor, something that when you cook the pork, there is this amount of tenderness, of juiciness. This will be the juiciest pork chops you have ever had. You'll be totally excited about. Once this finally is done, take the pork chop out of the marinade and make sure with a double layer of paper towel you dry it, and this is what it looks like. At this point, the only thing that I want to do is take it away from the towel, exactly like this, and we add the last bit of flavor, which in this particular case will be a little bit of pepper, and be generous with this, a little bit of salt. People say, but why do you do it since we already have it on the inside? You want to have it on the outside as well because that will be the first thing that you interact with, and when the flavor connects to it, it's going to give you exactly the wonderful taste of all these ingredients mingled together. On this burner right here, I've already put in this pan a little bit of extra light olive oil. I'm making a very big serious point about this because we're going to cook this on very high heat. And if you were to use extra virgin olive oil, one of the problems that you might run into it is that the extra virgin olive oil with cooking with very high heat has the tendency to burn. So there we are. We're almost ready. I'm waiting for this thing to sizzle and giving us, oh, there it is. The temperature is almost right. Let's get our pork chop and let's place it in there. The pork chop has cooked for about 4 minutes on medium heat. Now we turn it, and the next thing is something that you're going to love. It's a process that in French they call arroser. That's the adding of the batter, and as we add the batter, we're going to tilt the batter back into the pan, allowing for the pork chop to pick up this wonderful flavor. Look at this. This batter is going to roll it. We're going to reduce the heat now to medium-low, and we're going to let this braise into this combination of butter and olive oil. By the way, if you make this at home on a barbecue, you can also do it as well. It tastes fantastic, but let's let this finish. I'm going to let this cook all the way through, and when I come back, I'm going to show you exactly how to plate it. The pork chop has cooked perfectly well. Now what we have done is extremely important. We have taken the string out. Remember to do that. A few times I made the mistake and served my guests with the string attached. It does not taste all that good, and you do not look good in front of your friends. You let it rest for a good 5 minutes. That will redistribute the juices inside the pork chop and make it even much more tender. We are ready to go. In the plate I have some mashed potatoes. You can even do scallop potatoes if you want to. Some steamed asparagus. And the last bit is the position. This is my favorite design. And now we go with the sauce. Ooh, the sauce is absolutely perfect. What I've done, I have strained the sauce, and then I reduced the sauce a little bit more just to get it. But let's take a taste of this and see if it has exactly the taste that I want. Look at this. I love me. Now, this is the last bit of it. You have to realize that since I was a little boy, this to me was everything that's beautiful about a dish. I was into sauces as a young man, and here you go. All you need is just a little bit. Signori e signori, pork chop with apple and whiskey sauce.